probably the biggest air-cooled generator you can get.
Okay.
Cover just lifts up, real simple. Now, for whatever
Stand
reason,
here, Genesis.
if you ever have a hard time opening it up, it's either because somebody locked it, maybe a technician locked it when they finished up, or maybe one of y'all locked it, the other one wasn't here. But you have a key right here.
Got a key, all right.
That's, you know, simple, just goes in here. You got 2 locks on each side.
Okay,
That's for you.
thanks.
Now the front cover, just
Now,
pull
why would
straight
you
up.
ever lock it? Why would it need to be locked? Because you can't
Neighborhoods
trust-
that you live in, or you know,
What would
kids.
they steal something?
Or
you mean
no,
they
I mean,
wanna harm
I
it?
personally don't know what people would want to do inside the generator. Maybe somebody would want to sabotage it.
Okay, I got you. Lock it.
But this
Lock
guy
it.
just lifts straight up and out.
Straight up and out, okay.
So everything you see underneath the cover of this that is orange is something that you can service or tinker with on your own.
Oh, that's good.
The only thing that I really wouldn't tinker with is just this right here. This is just your gas selector. That's you go from natural gas to liquid propane. But this right here, orange, it's like a regular car. It's an air box. You pull a tab and it comes right out.
Wow.
The air filter is from a lot of American and import vehicles that are out there right now. It's really common. You can find it at the auto parts store. So for whatever reason, if you didn't want us to service your generator and you wanted to do your own servicing, air filter can be found anywhere.
Really? Fascinating.
Let's see. Now you got your oil dipstick. Once again, just like on a car, you pull it out. Check it. Now to your question, 1.7 quarts is what it takes, right? It does have these little dots right here that you can...
Just like an old-fashioned car.
Yeah. Now, it's kind of hard to read on these because the oil stays so clean for so long because it is natural gas. It doesn't produce as much
It's
carbon.
hard to see it where it is.
Yeah. So,
Feel?
well, as you measure or as you feel it, just kind of, you know, pull it out, check it. Maybe put like a
Little bit.
fourth of a quart at a time and just check it again. But it's that simple. When you're going to fill it, just right here, this is your oil fill cap. Now, it is plastic, and the cover that it goes into is aluminum, so you be careful when you thread it back in. I have seen some of them cross-threaded in there, and then it just gets, you know, boogered up.
Right.
We do replace them, but it's just easier if you don't really booger it
Right,
up.
right.
The last 2 things over here, it's just your old drain hose. It has like a little zip tie that holds onto it right here, and if you ever wanted to drain it for whatever reason, just open it up and let gravity do its thing. Obviously, put a pan there this way you don't just dump it into the ground.
So what exactly is draining out of there?
Oil. He
The
said
engine
it's an
oil.
oil pan.
Just the oil.
Yeah, and then your oil filter, same thing with this. It's if you take it off, you can take it to any auto parts store, and they'll find you something that's equivalent to it.
Compatible.
But as far as the servicing of it, that's it.
What about how dirty does that air filter get?
Very, very little dirt ever gets in there.
Okay, good.
Mainly because you do have everything in here that's covering it up. So you have this cover, and that's where it pulled air from.
Good.
But the generator only runs maybe, what, 30 minutes a month?
Yeah.
And then
Makes
when it-
sense. Should stay clean.
Yeah. We normally do replace it whenever we come out here for a service because it is included in the maintenance that you get.
Nice.
A couple other things you want to keep note of is you have this light over here.
Green now.
Yes. You want to see it solid and green whenever it's on standby, waiting for, you know, power outage, obviously. If it's ever running when there is an outage, it'll be green and it'll be flashing green. So as long as it's green, you're good.
Okay.
There is 2 other lights that you'll see. There's a yellow one. It's normally just a maintenance reminder. It'll be there to remind you of like an oil change that's due, or, you know, check your battery. Maybe it's low or old. Generac does suggest changing out the batteries every 2 to 3 years.
Same as our car.
Let's see, what else do we got? So there's really only 3 buttons here, and they're really simple. Your green button's your auto. Your blue button is manual, and it is what it says. It manually cuts the generator on. And then off, obviously, it just turns it off. Now, don't be afraid if you ever want to just go in this panel here and tinker. You know, if you want to change the time, you can.
Okay, so you just turned it off. So now it's on off.
Yeah, so right now it's on off. But this way you can kind of go in there and mess around in the menus. You can change the time.
Does it do
exercise
daylight
times.
savings time?
No.
Okay.
Once it's on Wi-Fi, it does. But outside of that, you know, you can tinker with it. You really can't mess anything up. There is a menu specifically for us as a dealer that we can get into. So that's the only menu that you can go in there and adjust things that can, you know, mess up the performance of it. Last 2 things that I'll go over is there is 2 buttons on this thing. I have seen either kids, grandkids, maybe lawn care people that kind of bump into it, it's right back here. There's a little black switch.
Yep.
It says auxiliary on and off. If it goes off, the light's gonna turn red, and it's gonna throw a code right here. It's gonna say stopped, alarm shut down, error code 2800. All that means is that somebody cut the auxiliary power off. This way, say, you know, Lord forbid there was a fire here, and the fire department have to shut this off, because if, you know, the power goes off in the house, this is gonna turn on and it's gonna try to feed the house power, and it'll cause even more damage. They can just hit the little switch here, and that'll cut it off. But if you do have a code like that, it'll tell you here how to turn it off. It'll say push off, enter, and the code clears. This way you can run it again.
So you push off and then you enter it.
Yeah, and it'll tell you here on the screen. It'll say push off and push enter.
Yeah, I see. I see.
And there's another one of those switches right in here. But if you ever see that, that's how you clear the code for it. The last thing I will say is, because we had that cold front, we had a lot of generators that ran for 2, 3, 4 days at a time. Now, these things really can run the whole week without, you know, taking a break. But us as technicians, we personally suggest that you know,
turn it off and
after about 2 days, give it a quick 5-10 minute break.
Rest.
And all you're gonna do is if it's running, hit this off. That'll cut power off to the house. And once you hit the off button here, that'll turn the generator off. And at that point, just check your oil level, fill it as needed. Once you're satisfied, just hit auto. It'll turn on automatically.
That's a good idea, because one never knows.
Yeah, and then just
Flip it back on.
hit on, and it'll power the house again. Now,
It's a beauty.
the last
It
thing,
really is.
the last thing that I want to go over with you is just the switch that's right over here.
But could I ask you a question?
Sure,
Where are the
sure.
wheels so that I can drive it?
Yeah. Like
That would be
automobile.
very convenient. Yeah. Put a little tank of natural
There's a
gas. Oh, thanks. It's not mine.
Too bad.
Yeah. So this is your transfer switch. Essentially, this is your new main breaker. Your breaker box still works the same way. You can cut individual power off to certain things. But if you ever want to shut the power off completely, this is where you would do it. Now, it's not going to look like this for you guys, because that would be very scary for you. You ladies will have this cover whenever you take this cover off. There's only 2 things you should take note here. Obviously, the on-off switch. This will cut power to the house whenever you want to cut power completely. If you do want to cut power off completely, make sure you hit the generator on off and then hit off on here.
Generator first and then come
Yes,
here.
because if you cut power off here, the generator is going to turn on and it's going to power the house again.
Right, okay.
The last thing is, and I've actually only ever seen this today, and prior to that, I've never seen this.
Today?
Today, the house before you ladies, I had ran all my tests, and I ran the generator, cut power off to the house, generator kicked on, and then when I put power back to the city, the switch didn't transfer back to the city, so the generator cut off and then the house didn't have power. It's very rare that it happens. I always thought it was like a 1% chance that it will happen. Never seen it, but I saw it today. So what I'm getting at is, say there's a power outage, right? The generator's runs great for a full day, and then the city gets power again, and then the utility cuts back on. If say,
How do you know when it comes on?
so if
your
the generator is kicked on right now, and there's no power, this switch will flip down. But if the generator turns off and then there's still no power in the house, it's most likely that this switch didn't switch back because it's not picking up on, you know, power outages. So say, like I said, for example, if the power is out, generator is running, but you have no lights in the house, most likely this switch just didn't do its job. Very unlikely that it'll happen. But when it's in the position up here, it just means that you have city power. When it's down here, it's on generator power. So what I'll do now, if it's okay with you, can I cut power off?
Sure.
It'll only be for about 15 seconds or so. Break down what it's going to do. So right now, there's a power outage. It takes about 5 seconds for the generator to realize that, and then it'll kick on. And once the generator's on, it'll take it another 5 to 10 seconds for it to realize that, or for this to realize that it's no longer on city, it's on generator, and then this will flip down. Kind of like that. So now the house is running off the generator power.
Why did the air not?
So this is on what's called a smart control module. See all these wires right here that say AC, blah, blah, blah. That kicks your generators on at different intervals of the generator. So it'll take about 2 to 3 minutes or so. It'll kick one AC unit on, and then after that it'll kick the other AC unit on. It just does that so it doesn't overexert it. But within the first 5 minutes, they'll turn on.
Oh, look at the steam. Okay, good. That's good to see.
Yeah, if you would, just check inside, make sure everything's operating the way it's
I'm
supposed
going to
to.
look at the refrigerator.
That's important. Yeah, other than that, everything else is pretty simple. Like I said, this thing really does take care of itself. It only needs one wash once a year. You guys gotta